Do you have some examples of how supply chain relationships and systems thinking come together in practice?
An example of how this might work, let's take the concept of, in systems thinking, a small change in one part of the system may have a very large impact somewhere else in the system or somewhere else in time. I was involved in a project some years ago which had to do with implementing a new IT system at the enterprise level, an enterprise resource planning changeover from one system to another. And that's a very complex project. There's lots of components in it. And one little thing that was missed was that in the original way of working, the people who received orders from customers had a little cheat or hack, if you want to call it that, that was kind of tacit knowledge, and a little cheat sheet that enabled them, when they received an order, to be able to see quickly, if I round that order up by 2 units or 3 units or 4 units, that gives me a full pallet. And would you like to change your order to that full quantity? And then mostly customers would be happy with that, and they could round up or round down, and that was very then useful for the rest of the supply chain, and that full pallet orders went down into the distribution centre, and full pallet orders were dispatched, and so on. So this avoided lots of part pallets that would be generated otherwise. But in the changeover, that very small little detail was missed, and it wasn't carried over. And in the new environment, the people didn't have the capability, didn't have the hack, or didn't have the cheat, if you like, to be able to do that. So they took an order and they logged the quantities that were requested, and they went to the distribution centre. So the distribution centre dispatched the quantity that was required. Nobody particularly noticed this change happening at the time it happened, but maybe 6 months later, 9 months later, the warehouse managers began to see that their occupancy in the warehouse had skyrocketed to unsustainable levels without the business itself having increased in throughput to any significant degree. And what had actually happened was that this tiny, small change from being able to round up or down to full pallet quantities had been lost. So therefore, each time an order was dispatched, a part pallet was left. Then when full pallet orders were required, these part pallets would be left in the system. And over a period of months, they built up until they became a bottleneck in the system, and they had rendered the occupancy of the facility, the warehouse distribution facility, inoperable to a degree. And that's just an example of how a small change can give a large effect, in this case a large negative effect, not immediately necessarily, but over a period of time. And by adopting a systems approach to dealing with challenges like that, we can get better insight and come up with better solutions day to day in running our business.